The April 21st, 2022 Mendocino County Planning Commission. And this is going to be a virtual meeting, and I'm going to give the agenda. Item number 1, meeting called to order, and roll call, please.
Vice Chair Wiedemann.
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Chair Purnell, absent by prearrangement. Commissioner Babini, absent by prearrangement. Commissioner Pollan.
Here.
All right, thank you. The Mendocino County Planning Commission meetings will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation pursuant to the provisions of Government Code Section 54953 and the recommendation of the Mendocino County Health Officer. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page at www.youtube.com/Mendocino County Video. In order to minimize the risk of exposure during this time of emergency, the public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public after processing by staff, and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting agenda on the Planning Commission agenda page. To submit public comments via telecomment, the Zoom link and associated instructions can be found on the agenda for this meeting. In order to ensure that you are called upon to provide comment, please complete the telecomment form found at www.mendocinocounty.org/government/planning-building-agenda. And clerk, we've already done roll call. I got that out of place, but we're moving on to agenda item number 2, and discussion for possible action, including adoption of resolution of Mendocino County Planning Commission finding that the state or local officials continue to recommend measures to promote social distancing in connection with public meetings. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, sorry.
All those in favor?
And Deputy County Councilor Matthew Kudrowski, through the Vice Chair, quickly, can we go to public comment, if any, on this item?
Sure. Is there any public comment?
If we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this item and you're in the attendees area, please use the raise hand feature. And I am not seeing any hands raised. It looks like we just have applicants within the attendees area at this time.
So I have a motion and a second. Is somebody calling for a vote?
Yeah. Pollan motion and Jones seconded. So am I doing okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiedemann.
Yes. All right, motion passes. Do we have the legal notice posted?
Yes. All noticing.
All right, so it's time for the director's report. Do we have a director's report?
Thank you, Vice Chair Wiedemann, Julia Krog, Director. I have just a very short update for you. We have a rather long agenda planned for May 19th as of this time. So I just want to make the commissioners aware that you may want to ensure that you have time available in the afternoon as well. I know we've gotten used to having some shorter agendas here, so I just want to make sure you're aware that there's quite a few items tracking for that agenda right now. And we have not yet published that agenda fully, but we do have several items on there. Beyond that, I guess I want to update you as well that the 2 cannabis accommodation districts that the commission had reviewed in February were denied by the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday at their meeting after going through their public hearing process. And I think that's about it from my end. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
All right. Matters from the public. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters of the public may do so via email, telephone, or Zoom. For information on each of these methods, call the Planning and Building Department at 707-234-6650 or visit www.mendocinocounty.org/government/planning-building-services/meetings/agendas. All correspondences will be attached to the item and made available online to the Planning Commission agenda page. If any members of the public log into Zoom meetings wishing to speak under public expression and have not completed the comment form, please use the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting. Instructions for using the raise hand feature are found on agenda for this meeting. Ask clerk if we have, I have to ask if we have any comment under public expression.
Let's see here. We're looking in the attendees area. If any members of the public on the line here wish to speak under public expression, raise hand feature. I'm seeing none there, but I do see we have Commissioner Jones with her hand raised.
Thank you. I wasn't quite sure where to bring this up, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I have a meeting that I have to go to at 11. I have a presentation to a client that was pre-scheduled, and I can't get out of it because I'm the consultant. And it's a board meeting that's a standing committee meeting, and I can't get out of it. So I'm gonna bop off at 11, probably leave at 10 minutes to 11 so that I have a little time to prepare for it. And unfortunately, at that point, you'll lose a quorum. So I apologize for that.
All right.
So with
Duly
that, I see
noted.
no other members wishing to speak under public expression. So I think we can move forward.
Okay, and we have no consent calendar, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we have an item. So in lieu, and our council, you can help also on this. In lieu that we have a short meeting, if we want to rearrange our agenda, can we do that?
Deputy County Councilman Matthew, yes, you can rearrange the agenda.
Okay. Well, the first item on our agenda, item 6A, is a continuation of the AT&T Mobility cell tower on the owner's property of Anderson, and case number U2021-0006. And this is being continued from April 7th, 2022 meeting. I noticed that was just sent out this morning was a comment from the public that just got to us requesting other photos. If we were to postpone this meeting to the following meeting, which would be the 5th, that would be May 5th, 2022, would AT&T still be able to make their deadline timeframe? And the only reason I say that is because that one letter that came in asked for photos from an area that wasn't provided for. And we have a short meeting today. So may I get some feedback on that?
Sure. I think at this time we should go to Ashley Smith with Epic Wireless and or Donna Davis with AT&T to hear from them. I see Deputy County Counsel has unmuted though. So.
And this is Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, just to confirm. I think we are now entering item 6A for discussion, just in terms of how we're going through the agenda. If we decide to cut it short or continue it, we'll finish this item and then move on to the others.
Correct.
Excellent. So I do see we have Donna Davis and Ashley Smith available to speak here. So I'm unsure who's going to start off, but please just state your name for the record once you begin.
Am I unmuted now? This is Donna Davis with AT&T External Affairs.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is a really tough one, Commissioner Wiedemann, because we had agreed to the continuance last time outside of our expired shot clock in order to provide the photo simulations of the monopine design at your request. If we continue to push this out, it does potentially negatively impact our ability to complete this project, given that some of this funding is made available through the CAF2 project, and we have specific deadlines that we have to meet and be out to build. And so it would potentially jeopardize our project to continue to push it out, because obviously we push it to the next meeting for these additional photo sims that we didn't have the request for in time for this meeting. And then we've got, appeal period and everything after that, which does delay us potentially getting the permit to get started on the work. And I don't know if Ashley needs to chime in additionally to that note. I don't think we can hear you, Ashley.
Ashley, I see you're unmuted, but it doesn't appear any audio is coming through.
Ashley, you might be double muted. I was unmuted by the team, but then I had to hit the mute button on my screen as well. So we can't hear you.
Okay, perfect. Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you are.
Awesome, thank you. So this is Ashley Smith with Epic Wireless Group. And I do want to follow up with Donna's comment regarding time constraints. So we are currently with the building department for the lattice tower design. And from my understanding, we are only pending planning approval, which would follow, shortly after the PC hearing approval. And this would, delay it quite substantially if we were to wait until the next hearing. I believe you said May 5th. That would delay the planning review for the building permit, as well as the construction to be initiated before June.
So I think with that, we'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair Wiedemann, and perhaps the commission would like to discuss how you'd like to proceed. Staff is prepared to present the memorandum for the meeting today and move forward with today's hearing if you would like to do so.
Well, let's proceed, and can we have staff presentation?
Excellent. So I think I'll look to Keith here, who prepared the revised memorandum for today's meeting.
Good morning. After direction from the Planning Commission at the April 7th, 2022 public hearing, staff has made changes to conditions of approval 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 by adding a more descriptive narration of the area that is to be included in surveys for special status plants and or animals. The language is, in part, located within the biological survey area along with the 200-foot buffer. For instance, condition 12 has been changed in part to say pre-construction biological surveys within the biological survey area along with the 200-foot buffer shall occur prior to the proposed project implementation. Also, the agent for the project has submitted revised photo simulations to include the incorporation of a monopine design for the site, also with revised propagation maps that depict the change in coverage with the monopine design, as the height of the tower would be required to be lowered by 8 feet to accommodate a tree topper that would have to be placed on the monopine design. Staff's open to any questions you might have, and the agent's also available.
All right. Do I have any questions from my fellow commissioners?
I have one, Commissioner Weedman. I noticed, and I guess I should preface this. Director Krog asked us, who were not at the last meeting, to review the all the transcripts, and I watched the full version of the YouTube, and so I am appraised and I'm ready to proceed ahead on this. But I had a question about a condition that was in the original submission that we got. I believe it was condition number 8 around undergrounding utilities and telecommunications facilities there. And the memo itself said that condition 8 would require that to be underground. But as I read the actual condition itself, it allowed for underground or aerial lines to be there. And am I reading that correctly? And if I'm not, and if I am, I'd like to see us modify that to move it to underground, because that did seem like that was an issue.
Yes, what you're reading there, Commissioner Pollen, is talking about, so one, fiber and power sometimes has to be moved from a location further off the property. So such as maybe from, a road intersection, maybe with Highway 1, to get to the property location. So that condition would require undergrounding of that utility, but then did leave the flexibility for any utilities on the parcel itself where the tower is to be located to be either aerial or underground. Staff doesn't see a concern if you wish to change that to require undergrounding on the project site location.
Well, I wasn't sure the rationale, but again, in the memorandum, it said that it would be undergrounded. And then it was changed. Again, it just didn't seem in conformity from what the memo said to the actual condition itself. And I'm curious what the rationale was to have it underground the entire distance, or if that was the intention, or.
So we could, Commissioner Pollen, if I may, that we can have the applicant answer that question after we get more commission comments.
Okay. I guess I would just like to say one other thing on a broader scale. I too would have preferred to see the photographs from, I think it was Ocean View Drive, that was requested from the public. But it sounds like, and I'd like to be really clear on this, because it sounds like we do not have the time to postpone it and still have the project be viable under its funding source. Is that an absolute truth, or is that a preference on the part of the applicant that we proceed ahead at this time?
I don't think staff is not able to speak to their funding timelines. What we can speak to is the tolling agreement that we signed with AT&T after last hearing, which would expire on May 16th of next month, May 16th, 2022. I can't speak to the funding timelines they may be under.
I would ask that of the applicant when we get to that.
All right. Anything further, Commissioner Pollen?
No, that's all for now. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Commissioner Jones?
I have just one clarification, and that is in the memo on the 4th page, there's a proposed view of the cell tower that doesn't show it as a treetop. And was that an error on the part of the applicant, or? It just looks like a regular cell tower to me. It doesn't have any visual screening in the form of looking like a tree.
I'm sorry, which page did you say that was on?
So it's when you get to the photos of, it's the first proposed photo. The site photos, got a little fence in the front.
The view from Country Club Way looking southwest at the site.
Right. That is, may I speak to that? That is an old photo.
Okay.
They have redone that with, that's the old package photo. The new package or the new photo shows the monopine
Okay, cool.
and it
Thanks.
looks much better.
Yeah. That was it for me. No other questions.
Okay. Let's see. So I don't have any further comments. I commented last time. I am concerned that we don't have those photos from the Ocean View Drive, but let me hear the applicant's presentation. And what I would like you to address is both Commissioner Pollan's question regarding timeline and your presentation can start now.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Ashley Smith, site acquisition representative for Epic Wireless Group, working on behalf of AT&T Mobility. Donna Davis is here with AT&T Mobility to also present on this meeting and answer any other questions. The project will be beneficial to Gualala by providing the community a few benefits. The first being the FirstNet program. Secondly, the FCC has determined that this is an area with insufficient internet service. And the third benefit is coverage and capacity for AT&T customers. Our office had evaluated several locations in the area and found that a 120-foot lattice tower would be the least intrusive means to fill AT&T's service gap. However, per direction from the last PC hearing, it was requested for the tower design to be updated to a monopine design. Our office has provided the county with updated photo simulations. And I'm not too sure if I'm able to share my screen on here, but I did want to see if we could do a side-by-side comparison of both the lattice tower photo simulations and the monopine design photo simulations.
So if you give us just a moment here, Ashley, what we're going to do is go ahead and promote you to a panelist. So you do it on the attendees area.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ashley, it's going to seem like you're going to disconnect for a second. Okay. So now, Ashley, you should be able to see a share screen button at the bottom of the screen and be able to share your screen. And you appear to be muted if you are speaking at this moment.
Thank you so much. It was muted. So can you confirm that the photo simulations are visible on your side?
Yes.
So we have the lattice tower design, which was the initial design, 120 feet to the left, and then the monopine design to the right. And the only reason why I want to bring this up is, as Keith Grunendijk last commission had stated, these monopine towers seem to be a little bit more visually obstructive, if you will. They do blend in as far as the surrounding to try to mirror the vegetation in the area. However, with the skyline being, directly behind this tower, the lattice tower design, you can see right through for the most part. Of course, it does depict a regular cell tower that you see normally when you're driving. But I just wanted to do a side-by-side comparison just to kind of depict it a little better on, the visual aspect of switching to the monopine design. And additionally, this tower will still include the opportunity for 3 additional carriers to co-locate on the tower once constructed. And again, we appreciate the opportunity to present this proposal and would request commissioners' support of the project to help increase communication coverage and wireless internet to the Gualala community. And please let me know if you have any additional questions regarding AT&T's proposal.
All right. Does the applicant have any other presentation at this time?
Yes, let me go ahead and answer those questions that were brought up by commission. Regarding the utilities, all of the utilities for both fiber and power are going to be located underground. We are pulling from a pole located on the property for both utilities, and we'll be trenching along our access and utility route to the tower location. Additionally, in regards to the funding time constraints, from our understanding, this needs to start construction in June. That's because this needs to be on air by the end of the year. And with all construction, you know, it could be 4 months up to 6 months. So any construction after June would, you know, could potentially not allow the WLL funding and the project to be co-located on this tower.
All right. Is there any other thing from the applicant, presentation-wise?
Nothing from Ashley Smith at Epic.
So Ashley, if you wouldn't mind going ahead, and at the top of your screen should be a stop sharing button.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. And Donna Davis, she was also part of the applicant. Do you have anything to say?
Good morning, Commissioner Wiedemann. Yes, thank you. I did hear Commissioner Paulin indicate that you listened to the prior hearing on the tower. I just wanted to touch again on the FirstNet service that'll be part of the service that we'll be providing with this tower. You may have also seen a letter from the FirstNet Authority, a little bit of background on FirstNet. This kind of came out of the 9/11 Commission after the towers came down, when we had mutual aid from multitude of different public safety and first responder units there at the tower. One of the things they really found out was that they weren't able to communicate with one another, weren't able to talk across the different platforms that they had, and it really impacted the ability of that response in that emergency. So out of the 9/11 Commission was developed FirstNet Authority. AT&T has the bid to build out the FirstNet network, and what this provides is a dedicated network for first responders, public safety. So the Band 14 that's part of this project is specifically dedicated traffic to first responders. Additionally, provides them with priority and preemption on the commercial part of our network. So if in fact there were a large fire or an emergency of another sort, that those public safety and first responders would be able to utilize all of the available bandwidth provided by our network off of this tower. So, we're no strangers here in Northern California to really ever-growing massive wildfires, and when those do happen, we'll see response, of course, from across the state and even sometimes from the U.S. And so, we want to make sure that although there may be other service up here from other providers, you want service from multitude of providers in order to keep those folks connected, right? When they come from all across the way. So I just wanted to touch on that in case you weren't familiar with FirstNet. I know I don't think I've presented for Commissioner Jones and Paulin before on that. So that's the piece I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. So now that we've heard from the applicant's presentation, are there any other questions or information that my fellow commissioners want to address?
Commissioner Wiedemann,
Yes.
this would be directed towards staff. I would just like to request that there is a amendment then made to condition number 8. As it currently reads, it says that fiber, telco, and power located on the project site may be installed as aerial or underground. I would ask for a revision that just be stricken to say shall be installed underground.
Yes, I actually have already captured that within the conditions. So.
All right. Commissioner Jones?
I have no other things to add. Thank you. And I'll also just confirm, like Cliff, that I read the staff report and watched the Zoom.
All right, thank you. And I just want to say, I actually think the monopine looks better. And because what we don't see on these, and I want to be very clear, is that we're seeing like maybe one provider right now, but these cell towers will have many providers on them. And it gets a little more cluttered, so with the necessity of other providers' hardware. With that, now I'm going to open it up to public hearing on this, since we aren't, do we have anybody from the public?
So if any members of the public would like to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature. It's at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a telephone, it's *9 to raise your hand. And I am not seeing any hands raised in the attendees area.
All right, well then, I think we can entertain a motion from my fellow commissioners. Do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll move that we approve application U-2021-006, subject to the finding and special conditions as noted with the addition by Cliff Holland.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
And I'm sorry, staff would just like clarification. Was that for approving a monopine design or a lattice type tower?
Oh, the monopine. Oh,
I
sorry.
assumed that the project had been changed to be a monopine, so yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And does the second agree?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Deputy County Counsel Matthew Kudrowski, I believe staff has a modified resolution that they want to share on the screen to reflect the changes. So it isn't just a motion, but we have a resolution prepared for approval. Can we do that before we hold the vote?
Yes, I will go ahead and share screen here. So bear with me just.
I mean, through the chair, if that's the vice chair, if that's okay, but I prefer to have the resolution modified.
Yeah. Yes, we're modifying. Okay.
So, Deputy County Counsel, we have a draft resolution prepared.
Yes.
And the staff has made changes to that. So in terms of the motion, we'd like to see if the motion was to approve a resolution. Staff would like to share that resolution so that we can actually know that was what the commission was voting on.
All right.
So give me just one moment here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so what you're seeing here is it's the original resolution that was prepared and made available. However, we've corrected references to the monopine tower to being the lattice tower to being a monopine tower, as well as correcting the dates on here. So, oops, and sorry, that made it smaller. Okay. So you'll see first reference is changing the date at the top here to the 21st. Then we have reference to the monopine type tower there. We added 2 additional recitals stating that the Planning Commission had held the original public hearing on April 7th, continued the item to the 21st, with direction to staff to complete clarifications to the resolution and to consider a monopine design for the tower, and then noting the hearing held today. The finding number 1 has been updated to reflect that this is a monopine tower being considered. And then I'm going to scroll down because there's no other changes within that. Oh, and correcting the director's name at the bottom. Then continuing down to Exhibit A, the conditions of approval. Again, staff has updated the date at the top here to reflect the 21st, that this is a monopine tower in the approved project description. And then we're going to go through the conditions here. So condition 1 would be modified to state that the total height of the tower, including antennas and faux branches, shall not exceed 120 feet in height. That's including the lightning rod, and that's what was shown in the plans. The other conditions remain the same there. Going on to a new condition 8, which would read that the antenna array and faux tree branches shall not extend greater than a 13-foot diameter ring around the center of the monopine unless an amendment to this permit or a new use permit is granted for such an expansion. And this is a typical condition you see of monopines in the coastal zone. Condition 9 would also be added, which is requiring certain density provisions to be met, as well as the general design of the monopine. This would require that there be a density of 2.5 branches for each 1 vertical foot of the pole, and that they start the attachment at no greater than 25 feet above finished grade and continue to the top of the pole, and be a minimum of 8 feet long in circumference, and taper appropriately as the branches progress upwards. Then here is the condition modification brought by Commissioner Pollan, which would just state that fiber, telco, and power located on the project site shall be underground. And we struck the end of that condition as it's no longer necessary. Then I would just like to note that we did also include here the updates to the biological resources conditions as was provided in the memorandum for today's hearing. And let me just scroll through those. That's including the 200-foot buffer area on each one of those conditions. And then I would like to get all the way down to the very end here. There's those additional conditions from the resolution, or excuse me, from the memorandum earlier today. And then we're going to go to the very, very end because that's the very last condition modification that was made, which is to the date. So this would allow that the permit is issued for 10 years from today. So just correcting so that way they get the full term of the permit. And with that, those are all the changes to the resolution.
Well, thank you, staff. And I just want to go back and just say that the public hearing was closed. I forgot to mention that. So since we have a motion and a second from the commission, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wiedemann,
Yes.
motion
Thank
passed.
you. And thank you to the representatives that you actually were supportive, I think, to the commission's concerns. And I personally appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. I think since we're on a timeline, let's roll into item number 6B of our regular calendar and case number MS 2021-0002, minor subdivision of 2 parcels in the city of Ukiah. We have a public hearing and announcement. I guess the question is, we should have the staff presentation before the public hearing.
Yes.
There you go. All right, this is a little not right. Okay. May we have the staff presentation?
Good morning, Vice Chair Wiedemann and Commissioners. This is Sam Vandy Vandewater, Senior Planner. The project was completed by other Senior Planner Russ Ford, but he is not in attendance today, so I will be going over this project for him. So please bear with me. The proposed project before you is a minor subdivision of a 4.1 acre parcel on the south side of Brush Street here in Ukiah. The parcel would be subdivided into 2 parcels, one of 2.3 acres in size and the other in 1.73 acres in size. A portion of the parcel is already developed with a multifamily housing development, and the new proposed parcels would subdivide to create a parcel for the existing development and a new parcel for which an additional 32 units would be constructed as part of the Ore Creek Commons project. The project was referred out to a number of agencies, and really there were no comments of any major concern. Additionally, the project went to the Mendocino County Subdivision Committee, and the committee determined that there was no, that the project was consistent with the land division regulations in Chapter 17 of the County Code. with relation to the general plan, zoning, and the Ukiah Valley area plan compatibility. The project was found to not only be compatible with all the land use regulations, but is supported by several Ukiah Valley area plan goals, including goals LU2, LU4, LU7, and CT3. Lastly, the project was not exempt from CEQA, and therefore an initial study was completed. A negative declaration was prepared, and with that, staff recommends the project be approved with a negative declaration. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Do I have any questions or comments from the commission?
I have not really a planning question, but it's just a curiosity question. Do you know why they're planning on doing the subdivision? Is it something around financing for the second phase of the project, or why not leave it one parcel? Do you know?
Okay, if you want to.
I believe it is around a funding source, but I do see that we have the applicant. I'm sure they'll be able to speak to it when they do their presentation as well, but I do believe that it relates to funding for the project.
Okay, thanks.
And just to clarify, this is Court Munsell, and this is the agent for the project.
Oh, excuse me, thank you.
I had one question, and maybe the applicant could answer this, or maybe staff, but I noticed in the project description of the background, it said that there is an approved but yet to be constructed bioretention facility on lot 2. And then it says the intention is to develop 32 additional units on lot 2. Would that be in addition to this bioretention facility, or is that in lieu of?
I believe the applicant would be able to prepare, but from my understanding, that bioretention pond was a aspect of the previous use permit that was approved to be constructed, but not a requirement to be constructed. Therefore, if the new 32 units take up the entirety of lot 2, it's not required that retention pond be constructed should floodplain construction be met. I don't know if I said that correctly.
Well, so I think we'll probably get clarification here from the applicant,
agent,
excuse me, the agent as well for the project. But there was a previous use permit approved in this area for housing to be constructed, and as part of that, there were, there's always the proposal from an applicant or agent. And then there's also the required conditions of approval. So sometimes there may be modifications done when they get to the actual build out stage that may not affect the approval of that use permit, but may just be how they're handling the build out of the project.
Thank you.
So your understanding is that the bioretention facility was not the condition of approval of the prior use permit?
I do not believe so, no. It was just a portion of the previously approved project, but not a required condition.
Oh.
And I would recommend that maybe we just get clarification from the applicant on this. That way you guys have it clear before you.
All right.
Yeah,
Do we
the
have
other
any
thing I
other
think is
questions?
I have a follow-up to that. If somebody has in an application submitted as part of their application a bioretention plan, and they don't build it, then they're not complying with their application. I mean, there must have been a reason for it, I guess is what I'm saying. And just because you don't special condition to have something in there, I mean, typically what happens is you have a back and forth with the applicant. You say, oh, you need a bioretention plan. So they stick it in. So then you don't have to have the special condition. So I just think you should be clear about whether or not it's required. And then and just because it's not a special condition doesn't mean it's not required, because applicants often do things in their proposals that are required and they're not conditioned because they're in their proposal. And then the other thing I would just provide as a comment, and I know this is out of the purview of this subdivision application, but I do so hope that they can do something with their on rooftop, what do you call them, climate control system, so that they don't look as bad as the current project, where it was really an aftershock thought and the view from the highway is just so sad compared to what it could be. So hopefully that can be addressed in some way. Probably it's past the opportunity for that, but hopefully the applicant just hears that. And I'm sure you've heard from the community about it, because I know a lot of people have expressed a little bit of dismay about how the skyline of that image got kind of destroyed by sticking all those utilities on top.
And
right.
if I may, if I may just clarify for Commissioner Pollan's question about the bioretention facility, if you look at the tentative parcel map, you'll see that in the corner of Lot 2, which is the proposed new parcel to be created, that it says existing bioretention area currently under construction and approved under the Ore Creek Commons Phase 2 building permit, and lists the building permit number right there. So I do believe that's under construction and would likely remain, but again, we will hear from the agent regarding that.
So just for clarification for myself, you're saying it is actually in the proposal because I believe Vandy, the other planner, said it was not necessary. So it is, and it's actually being developed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. If no further comments for staff from the commission, then let's hear from the applicant.
So it appears we have Court Munsell, the agent for the project, available on the line.
Hello, my name is Court Munsell, Munsell Civil Engineering, here representing the developer. Try to work within the time constraints here. I know we have a quorum for a short period, but yes, the purpose for the subdivision is to finalize the project, which is Ore Creek Phase 2, located on Lot 1. Finalize that, and then have a separate a project independent funding source for Lot 2. As part of the Ore Creek Phase 2, which is currently under construction, they were required to do frontage improvements along Brush and Orchard Street. Part of those frontage improvements required stormwater treatment, which is why the bioretention was permitted and currently under construction. So I'm sure you've seen that the frontage work is currently under construction out at the site. So that certainly is intended to remain and treat stormwater as required. Any development on Lot 2 would work around the constraints of the bioretention area and the street frontage improvements that are currently under construction. Then the only other thing to note, there is a PG&E easement that kind of splits through the parcel that feeds the existing city of Ukiah well. That easement is getting abandoned, quitclaimed, and relocated along the frontage on Orchard. That overhead utility was being put underground to service the well site for the city of Ukiah, and then leave the remainder of Lot 2 parcel ready for future development. And if there are any other questions, happy to answer. Thank you.
All right. Does either commissioner have a question to the applicant? Commissioner Pollan?
Thank you, Vice Chair Weedman. Yeah, I don't want to beat this bioretention question too bloody, but I'm just looking at the site plan, and is that bioretention pond as it was originally intended when this whole project was approved in 2016, or has it been modified, or I guess my biggest concern is, has it been reduced? Just looking at, as I look at the plan, I'm seeing that it's the stormwater collection point for that entire lot plus the frontage along Orchard, and I'm just wondering about its capacity to handle that.
I hope I'm unmuted here, but it hasn't been revised or changed. We have requirements for treating stormwater. This isn't a detention pond. This is a stormwater treatment pond. So the water that we collect off of Brush Street and Orchard is directed into the bioretention area. That area will treat water, allow for infiltration, for settlement of any contaminants, and then the overflow from that area enters the city storm drain system on Orchard that's currently existing, and the water goes down to Ore Creek.
Okay, but it is the same design that was originally contemplated in 2016 when the use permit was approved.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jones, any questions? No. All right. I had a question. Just so this basically lot split. It's for future development. Is there a number of how many dwellings can be, housing, apartments? How big of an outbuild can happen? And that's a question. I guess that would be, it could be the applicant, but I think it's going to go back to our planning staff. So I just had that one question be answered at some point.
Hi, so Sam Vandy Vandewater, Senior Planner. The parcels are, both proposed parcels are currently zoned multiple family residential, so that would require at minimum that any residential development be at least structure with at least 3 units. Whether or not there's the allowance for additional multifamily unit structures, I believe a use permit is required for that due to the planned development zoning combining district on the property. So beyond a single multifamily residential unit building, there probably would need to be discretionary approval for a larger build out of the property and the site.
And I'll just add on to that, yes, since this site is zone plan development with a PED, it would require that a use permit be processed. And if you call your attention to page 3 of the staff report, at the very last paragraph of the zoning and land use compatibility section, you'll see a discussion there based upon how many potential units could be established on this newly created parcel. Presently, the applicant's intention was to develop 32 additional multifamily units. However, the acreage of the land would allow potentially up to 50 units.
50 more units. I see.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
Diana, I would just add to this. This is phase 2 of a project that's already been approved. So there's
Yes.
80 units approved altogether. So I'm assuming the 32 units that they're proposing for this phase 2 is already approved through that use permit. And I'm not sure that I understood why a new use permit would be required, except for unless maybe it's creating a new parcel. And so maybe that's just something that staff could clarify. If the actual creation of the parcel is necessitating a new use permit, that seems like a lot of burden on the applicant if it's required.
Staff is looking into that.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up there was a modification done in 2019. So if you'll bear with me, maybe we can come back to that after hearing any public comment on the item. So I can pull up
All right.
the staff report here.
So with that, let's open public hearing. Do we have any body to speak from the public?
I do not see any requests.
If there's any members of the public in the attendees area who wish to speak on this item, please use the raise hand feature. Or if you're on the telephone, it's *9. We do have one telephone number in there. And I am not seeing any hands raised. So then just give me a minute here to pull up the original.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we may want to confirm with the applicant, but we do believe, and I'm just doing a review over the report here, that the phase 1 and 2, I believe, of the Orr Creek Commons project was intended to be on lot 1, and that's discussed in the description section that says there was the 80 units over 2 phases via that use permit. And looking at the site plan, that does appear to be correct, that they're doing the 80 units over 2 phases. And I believe they're already they completed phase 1. I believe they are still constructing phase 2 at this time on what would be proposed lot 1. additional housing would be subject to a new use permit or possibly a modification to that previously approved permit. But with this becoming a separate lot, staff would most likely see that as a brand new use permit for any additional housing to be constructed. And that's just a requirement of the zoning of the site, the PD. And that was done back several years ago. I think it was actually back in 2011 when there was a rezone done in that area that added the plan development to the site. And you'll see that in the related applications on page 2 of the staff report.
So with that, staff, do you have any other final comments or remarks?
No, at this time.
All right. And then to my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Pollan, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have one comment, and then I looked at the site plan for lot 1, which is under development now, and there's only 32 parking spaces. So that's a pretty good rough way of estimating how many units there are. So I'm pretty sure they didn't develop 80 units there, but it might be nice if the applicant could chime in here. And I know this is an affordable housing project, so it's exempt from CEQA, so maybe doing a new use permit isn't that big of a deal. It'd be nice if there was a way we could do it so they wouldn't have to. I'm not sure there is. Anyway, that's my comment.
All right, can we hear from the applicant to answer?
It's my understanding that a new use permit would be required for the development of this lot, but Angelica, if she is on the call, you could unmute her. She could probably answer that question directly.
There is a telephone number that we can't quite connect, and then also a Brave Runner. If either one of these are part of the applicant, could you please use the raise hand feature on the telephone at *9? There we go. All right, and go ahead and unmute yourself when you are ready. That's a *6 to unmute on the telephone. And the phone is still muted. So again, that's *6 to unmute. We can't quite hear you. We see that you are unmuted, but if you maybe you're double muted on your phone as well. So if you can hit the other item.
Hi, can
There we
everyone
go.
hear me okay? This is,
Yes.
perfect. Hi, everyone. This is Angelica Figueroa with RCHDC. Thank you so much for having us today. So I did want to clarify that we were informed by Russ Ford that we would in fact need an additional use permit for these 32 units.
And could you also respond to how many units you're constructing on what is proposed lot 1 and whether or not that's the full 80 units or if you are only constructing 40 or so units on there?
Yeah, of course. So we have, as was previously mentioned, we have Ore Creek Commons Phase 1 that has been completed, that was built out last year, and that's 40 units. So the Phase 2 that's currently under construction is an additional 40 units. So between those two phases, we have our 80 units that were approved for the previous use permit. So these 32 units on that third parcel would require one additional use permit per county recommendation from Russell Ford.
And I would just like to provide clarification for Commissioner Jones that the Phase 1 portion of the Ore Creek Commons did not occur on Lot 1. It actually occurred on a parcel to the west of Lot 1, which is why you don't see all 80 parcels on Lot 1.
Got it. Can you also provide clarity if you're going to handle the air conditioning units on the top of the new project in a different manner? I'd really like to see that.
Absolutely, yes. We can definitely have discussions with our architect to make sure that doesn't happen for this remaining phase.
Great, thank you.
We'll note that a use permit will come back in front of this commission as well. So you will have the opportunity to review any additional housing units to be constructed on proposed lot 2 at that time.
All right. Any further, where are we here? So applicant questions. So at this point,
And Chair Wiedemann, if I believe we're at the point you may be able to close the public hearing if you have
I
not.
think so.
Okay.
Okay, so public hearing is closed and we move on to for the commission, and I'm going to invite a motion from the commission.
I'm happy to make a motion. It does say that the recommended action is to adopt by resolution, but there is not a resolution in the packet. So I just want clarity if a resolution was created for this or not.
I'll give you just one moment here because there should be. So,
I'm looking at my paper packet, so maybe it just didn't end up in my paper packet. I'm not sure. But I also want to start just by saying, yay, housing. Thank you, RC HDC, for continuing to develop affordable housing in our community. It's desperately needed, and this is a good location for it. So we appreciate your efforts very much.
So if I can respond to Commissioner Jones, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen too. There was one prepared that was posted online. This item, I apologize, it did not make it into your printed packets. So please allow me 1 second here to share my screen so we can review that to make sure you guys are in agreement with all conditions of approval being proposed by staff. So you should be seeing here and this is pulled straight off of our webpage. This is the resolution. So this notes adopting a negative declaration and granting a minor subdivision. It runs through the general plan and zoning consistency findings, finding that this proposed new parcel, the subdivision is consistent with the suburban residential land use classification, as well as the R3 zoning designation. The proposed subdivision is consistent with the Division of Land regulations. There's no exceptions that are required. In terms of environmental protection pursuant to CEQA, the negative declaration concluded there is no potential for adverse impacts associated with the project. The project is also found to be consistent with the Ukiah Valley Area Plan. Then we move through our typical recitals regarding adoption by the Planning Commission of this project. We will correct the director's name in that resolution as well. And now moving on to the most important part here, the conditions of approval. So now starting off with noting that all conditions have to be completed within 24 months. With regards to aesthetics, there's going to be the standard condition about exterior lighting being downcast and shielded. A notation on the parcel map requiring that future development of building sites is subject to the limitations within the conditions of approval in terms of drainage controls and grading. A note is required on the parcel map for compliance with air quality regulations. You have the required CEQA fee included there for the negative declaration that was prepared. For cultural resources, the standard discovery clause is required to be on the parcel map. For geology and soils, the standard best management practices letter acknowledgement is required to be submitted by the applicant. There is a potential flood zone on this property, so all areas of the subdivision that are subject to flooding have to be identified on the parcel map. And also there would be the requirement that zone is based off of the civil engineer's report. Additionally, a note will appear below that saying development within the floodplain is subject to floodplain regulations within the county code. The applicant will be required to comply with Ukiah Valley Fire District requirements, as this is located within the Ukiah Valley Fire District area and not the state responsibility area. For hydrology and water quality, they'll have to produce will serve letters from the districts that are serving this property, and I will note those are already in the file. Transportation, they will be required to dedicate 30 feet along the south side of Rush Street to provide for the ultimate improvement of the county road. They also must show all utility easements with a width of 10 feet. All natural drainage and water courses have to be shown on the map as well with the 20 feet, and also high water level is the 5 feet horizontal distance. They are required to construct a standard commercial road approach on lot 1. They also will be required to place a note on lot 2 stating that a commercial road approach is required to be built in conjunction with any development proposed in the future. And also the approval of the tentative map is conditioned upon certain improvements being made, and the subdivider is required to contact Transportation Department when those improvements have been completed. And also requiring an encroachment permit be obtained. Then we have a standard subdivision condition requires all setbacks to be shown on the map, including roadway easements. They must demonstrate all taxes have been paid. There is a requirement for a class 2 bike lane to be established along Brush Street. And that is to connect with the existing bike lane that is along Brush Street and then provide integration with a future class 2 bike lane along North Orchard in the city of Ukiah. And then the subdivider must also ensure connectivity between the class 2 bike lane along Orchard with the class 1 bike path deeded to the city of Ukiah as part of the Ore Creek Commons Phase 1 project related to that use permit. Are there any conditions that the commission would like to review in further detail on there?
Yeah, I have a question about the bike lane condition. It's unclear to me if it's we're requiring the applicant to establish it. That's what.
Yes, we are.
It seems a little, I don't know, onerous because it's a. I guess it's fair. Are they also being required to establish sidewalk?
That
Transportation, I believe they are.
I'm looking back up into the transportation conditions because I did not see that as part of the transportation recommended conditions. And I do see that the agent has raised his hand. So Mr. Munsell, if you're able to speak to that, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Court Munsell again. Yes, so we are required to have curb gutter, sidewalk, full width for bike path and travel lane, and then curb gutter, planter, and then separated sidewalk. That is already actually permitted and under construction. So that's part of the phase 2 requirements, which is lot 1 of this subdivision, and already permitted under construction.
So
Right.
I would.
Thank you. Can I interject something? Can you scroll back up to the screen, please, Ms. Acker?
Where would you like to go?
All the way to the top. Go back
the way
to the resolution. I would like Commissioner Jones to read the top resolution with her motion, just the top, so we get it in the record.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I'd be happy to do that. Before I do that, I'd just like to make a general comment. And I believe this is considered a minor subdivision, and usually you do not require site improvements as part of a minor subdivision. Typically, those improvements would be required when the project is actually developed. And so I just want to caution staff that you're going a little bit out of the Subdivision Map Act when you requiring the applicant to do on-site sidewalk, bike lane improvements for a minor subdivision. I recognize that this is a unique case and that the applicant is already undertaking these, but I just think it's not a correct precedent to set. But with that, given that the applicant is already doing it anyway, I'm happy to make a motion to recommend approval of a resolution for the Planning Commission adopting a negative declaration and granting a minor subdivision MS_2-21-0002 Rural Communities Housing Development Corporation.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Can I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wiedemann.
Yes. And also congratulations to RCHDC for providing a lot of affordable housing, and keep up the good work. All right. Do we want to take a mini break, or we have one more on the agenda? A little break. How about a 5-minute break?
I'll just remind the chair that I will only be here for another 35 minutes. So.
I just need a very quick bio break.
Okay, fair.
Right. Thanks.
All right. Okay, one more. So moving on to item on the agenda 6C, case number MS 2021-0005 for an applicant for a minor subdivision, Rick and Jane Couples, agent Ron Franz. The minor subdivision of a 4.5 acre parcel into 2 parcels of creating a 3.6 parcel and a 0.09 acre parcel in size. Can we have staff's report on this, please?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Wiedemann. This is Sam Vandewater again, Senior Planner, and I am the project planner on this one, so hopefully I can answer your questions better should you have any. As you mentioned, this is a minor subdivision of a 4.5 acre parcel. The result, it would create 2 parcels resulting in 3.6 acres and 0.9 acres respectively. The intent of the subdivision is really to create separate parcels for each of the existing single-family residences that are already constructed on site. This is located roughly a half mile southwest of the town of Hopland at the very end of St. Mary's Avenue. The project was referred to a number of agencies. There were some comments received back, but these were all incorporated into the conditions of approval. The project was found to be consistent with both the general plan and the land and the zoning district in terms of minimum lot size. The project went to the subdivision committee on November 10th of last year and was found to be consistent with the Division of Land Regulations for the Mendocino County Code. And finally, the project was not exempt from CEQA, and therefore an initial study was completed for the project and a negative declaration was prepared. And with that, staff by resolution recommends adoption of the project or approval of the project and adoption of a negative declaration. And I'm available for any questions.
All right. Commissioner Pollan, do you have any comments or questions from staff?
I don't at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I have no questions. Thanks.
And I don't have any questions at this point. So can we have the applicant's presentation?
Yes, it appears we have Casey Couples and Couples and Sons Construction. So we're going to bring both of them in here, and please just go ahead and unmute yourself when you're ready and state your name for the record.
Casey Couples.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is an existing lot from my parents' property, and the idea behind this is for us to split off 1 acre for my wife and I, and then go through the process of a building permit and to build a new single-family home on this lot. You know, that's basically all we got there. That's the plan for this.
All right. Any other comment by the applicant?
I'm not seeing anything further, so I think
Okay. So I'm going to invite the commissioners again. Commissioner Pollan, do you have any questions or from either the applicant or staff?
My only question is, I guess, there is an existing dwelling on the site right now. Your intention is to get a building permit to replace that structure or to build an additional structure?
It would be a replacement. Currently, that's just a modular structure.
Okay.
It's pretty dilapidated. It's about 40 years old at this point. So we do have all the existing hookups of sewer, water, electrical, all that's already on site. So it'd be just a demo of that existing structure and a build of a new structure.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
I have no questions. Did we open a public hearing?
not yet.
That comes next.
Right.
And I don't have any questions for the applicant. And so now I'm going to open public hearing. It is open. Do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak to this?
We have no other individuals in the attendees area, so I'm going to say no, we do not.
All right. And does staff have any final remarks for this project?
I do not, thank you.
And does the commission, any commissioners have any final questions for staff at this point? I had one. It's was there a reason to make it under an acre, 0.09 versus 1 acre to staff?
Sam Vandy Vandewater, I believe the application I received just stated these were the recommended proposed sizes. Ultimately, what gets recorded is on the recorded map. I mean, yeah, the application states the proposed parcels are 3.58 acres and 0.9 acres.
Okay.
And
that was
there really was no reason for that. What we did is we just kind of chose an area where we thought the line should be when we were going over it with Ron Franz. And that just turned out to be that 0.9 acres. So that it wasn't any particular reason.
All right.
But just for clarification for the commission, the parcel is zoned within the suburban residential zoning district. And with both a water and sewer district, parcels may be subdivided down to as small as 6,000 square feet. So this 0.9 acres is well above that 6,000 square foot minimum, as the parcel is served by the Hopland Public Utilities Commission or district.
Well, thank you, staff, for that. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. And now I'm going to the matters before the commission. And is there a motion from my fellow commissioners? Marie Jones, do you have a motion, or Cliff Pollen?
I'll do it if Cliff doesn't want to. So I move that we adopt a resolution, adopt the negative direct declaration, and grant the minor subdivision for project MS 2021-0005.
Do I have a second?
Well, Commissioner Jones does such a great job of making motions, so I let her do that. But I will second that motion.
All right. Before we have roll call, I just need it to be clarified that it's not in, this subdivision is no longer in District 5. It's
Yes.
the Hopland moved to, I believe it's your district, Commissioner Pollen.
I believe you are correct, and
So it should be just corrected.
We've been working on getting our mapping updated. It's
Right.
taking us a little while to get up to speed here, so.
That's okay.
Oh man, I never get to make motions. I should have made that.
Yeah, so can I have roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Pollan,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes, and next time we have a motion that's in my district, Cliff, I'll let you make the motion.
Oh, thanks. Great.
Vice Chair Wiedemann.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Vice
Thank
Chair
you, and
Commissioners.
good luck on your new house.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, with that, then we move to, do we have any matters from staff at this agenda number item 7?
No, we do not.
All right, do we have matters from the commission?
Yeah, I just have one thing. So that reinterpretation of the vacation rental, I got that put together like back in December, and then it just kind of sat for a while. And Diana and I got together about 3 weeks ago, and I'm just going to send that to you. So hopefully we can get it on our next agenda.
Absolutely. We'll do our best to put that on May 5th. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Right. Is there a possibility that could be on, I have a doctor's appointment on the 5th, and I may have to not show up for it if I can't figure out the time, change the timing. Can we put it on an agenda that maybe the following one? I know that's the long one, but maybe the following one after that, would that be okay? Or we start it and then carry it over?
So my problem is May 19th, I have a doctor's appointment, and or the next
Yes.
one, and it's one I've been waiting for 2 months.
I know.
And once you get them, you can't like change them. So
So if you would like, staff is happy to schedule whatever time the commission would like, so.
I'd like to do it on the 5th, if that's okay, if you don't mind, Diana.
Yeah, I think that's fine. And what I'd like to do is be able to weigh in on it on a future meeting. It can be the start of it to get it going, and then we can carry it if necessary. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Anything else from the commission?
I only watched this via the YouTube of last meeting, but it sounded like that there was interest in Commissioner Babini sitting on the Airport and Land Use Committee. I don't know if we want to take that vote without her present or not. And I don't know if we need to or not. I would defer to staff if that is a time-sensitive issue.
So that will be scheduled for the May 5th agenda. We had understood at that meeting, we'd be scheduling that there, as well as consideration of reappointment of Commissioner Wiedemann to the Airport Land Use Commission as well at that time.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing that we have no further comments from the commission, do we have approval of the minutes for last meeting?
We have no meeting minutes
We have,
for this agenda.
we have no
Yeah.
minutes from last meeting, do we?
Not yet.
Thanks. Okay, so with that, I invite adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
Do I have roll call? Or all those in favor?
Aye.
All those-
Aye.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a
we
good
made
rest of
it.
the day. Yes,
You have a
thank
half
you all
hour
for
to
hanging.
spare, Marie.
I know, I'm so excited. I can prepare. Thank you, everybody,
Bye,
for being
everyone.
speedy.
Thank you.